Family Empowerment Center, organizations like it, who really do care about people's lives, people's hearts.
People come to this beauty of like, that is God, that is love that comes from above.
Rogers Park and this community is very lucky and blessed to have a family empowerment.
It is that place where you can come and feel welcome, whether it's been 2 days since I've seen you or 20 years, this is still a place that you can come.
Y debido a estas circunstancias, pues tuvimos que asilarnos junto con mi familia, con mis hijos, aquí en la ciudad de Chicago. Gracias a Dios, logramos ubicar a Family Empowerment Center.
Family Empowerment Centers does what God has ordained for Family Empowerment Centers to do.
For 20 years, the Family Empowerment Centers have been creating hope and opportunity for families in Chicago as they experience the love of God in their lives. They have been doing this through after-school programs for children, English as a second language classes, technology skills, safe spaces, food, clothing, and basic home supplies, worship opportunities, friendship, fun, a listening ear, and hope.
My name is Scott Enke, and I'm the Executive Director of Family Empowerment Centers. Family Empowerment Centers is an organization that has a desire to bring change to people's lives by creating hope for them, by creating opportunities for them to experience the love of God in their lives. Family Empowerment Centers, we decided on that name 20 years ago because we felt like the family unit was critical to people having opportunity, people having the ability to have success in life. If we have multiple people feeding into a child in a healthy way, then that child will have the greatest opportunity for success, right? To live life well into adulthood and beyond. And not only to live life well, but then to pass on to future generations the strengths, right, that they have as parents and individuals. 20 years ago when we came to Rogers Park, opportunity is probably what drew us to this community. It was a very diverse community, ethnically diverse, economically diverse, a lot of different subcultures. There's a college campus, Loyola University's in our community. And so the diversity of our community was appealing and intriguing to us because we felt like, again, this idea that God created man uniquely. And so when we come into community, if we can bring the best of God's creation, every man, woman, and child, and come together in unity, that we could have a greater influence, I think. We recognize that there was a need for after-school programs. There was a need in our local park district for volunteers, because there was a lot of kids in our local park that were there without parents.
My name is Barbara Dever. I work in Rogers Park for the Chicago Park District, and I was working in a tiny playlet called Schreiber Park, and the Family Empowerment Center moved into the neighborhood, and they came over and we just started talking. In a playlet, there's not a whole lot of staff. There's usually just the supervisor. You kind of rely on the community to help you kind of foster all the programs you need to make happen there.
And so we just saw the opportunity to come alongside people. There were a lot of immigrant families, refugee families in the community, and there still are today, 20 years later. And just recognizing just the need that was present, we felt like if we could come into a community and be present to walk alongside people who maybe had greater need than you might find in other communities around the city, that was sort of the space that we were purposed to be in.
Initially, I'm always a little bit leery of people who want to come and help out, because I worry about the kids in the neighborhood and what kind of people that they're hanging out with. But once I did get to know them, it was like meeting apostles that were here to just serve us. It was a heaven sent. Like, I just felt really blessed that I have people here who are like-minded thinkers, who really care about children and their well-being. And eventually it became not just the children, it became the whole family. And it was amazing. I I felt so lucky.
My wife and I founded the work here, ventured out here from New York City. We were in the Bronx, New York, doing similar type things in the Bronx. The door opened up to do this work here in Chicago, so we felt like God was saying, hey, yeah, this is where I want you. So around 2004, 2005, we had the opportunity to purchase a building. The Christian Missionary Alliance, they had some resources that they said, hey, we can help you guys buy a building in the community, and we'll do that, but you'll have to find money to renovate it. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, we have no money in the bank. We're not even drawing a salary that could sustain a family in what we were doing at that point. We didn't know, if we were operating for a month, we didn't even know where that money was going to come from a month from now to keep us going. And so we really legitimately built this and started this by faith. So Barbara worked in the local park district, and she was the one that we had built a friendship with, a relationship with, and her uncle was the alderman, Alderman O'Connor at the time. She was able to communicate to the alderman some genuine knowledge about who we were, what we were doing, the impact we were having, and so the Alderman O'Connor had given us his blessing at that point to get the building. We knew a gentleman, his name was Chuck Stolson Construction Company. He was able to give me an estimate on what the renovations would be for the space. And those renovations were about $420,000. And I thought, God, if you're in this, and we've already committed to the building, then you'll provide a way. Well, shortly after getting that estimate, somebody told me that I should take boat donations. And so we ventured down the road of accepting boat donations. That first year of doing boat donations, we generated over $300,000 in sales from donated boats. When we look back on the process of building out this space and launching this space and the programs, the actual cost to renovate this space after volunteer help and donations of supplies was about $140,000. We netted $140,000. Almost the exact amount we spent to renovate the building is what we netted off donated boats in that first year. And if you would have told me, Scott, you're going to be taking boat donations to fund the work that you're doing, that God has called you to, I would have said you're crazy. And, it's kind of amazing. When we started this work, we just had sort of this thought that, we're going to care for some people in the community, create some programming that meets some of their needs, to create some hope, and have some empowered opportunities and experiences to live life more to the full. And yet in the midst of that journey, all of a sudden we realized that there was high school students and college students and others who wanted to come and make a difference.
Natalie Mankey, Scott's wife, just as the loving woman, embracing woman that she is, she came, I was out here with my children, and she came up and just started talking to me. I felt as if I had known her all my life. And she just merely was stating, I see you with your children all the time, and she just embraced me.
It's the diversity. It's a very community-based, family-oriented, anyone could fit here without feeling insecure or worrying about what their faith is or however they walk, because it's not only Christian-based, but there's so many other faith and walks of life here in Rogers Park that is mixed in the community.
And we realized that we were getting all these interns from the local colleges to serve with us. And so we have, for instance, Moody Bible Institute, we get about 25 to 30 students a week that serve with us and help us run our programming here. So oftentimes we look at mission or we look at ministry through a certain lens, and we have to do it this way or that way. But we realized quite early on that the way we were caring for people and loving people, it doesn't fit the paradigm of what our normal society, our societal norms would expect, right? What's the return on investment, right? What's the ROI? Well, what's the outcome 20 years from now?
My name is Mr. Clark, Calvin Clark, or Coach Clark. I'm a teacher at Sullivan High School. I teach entrepreneurship. And also I am a football coach at Sullivan High School. I've been coaching now going on 15 years. Sullivan High School is in Rogers Park neighborhood on the north side of Chicago. We have a lot of refugee students. 45 countries are represented and speak at our school. So when you say melting pot and all that other great things about diversity, ethnicity, culture, that's what Sullivan High School is. And that's what our football team looks like also. One day, me and the boys, my team was outside, and Pastor Scott and some of his congregations, they set up 2 white tables, and they started just bringing hot chocolate, and they started serving us. Ever since that day, we just been grateful. It just showed a lot of gratitude and appreciation of just the spirit that this church carry, and also what he embodies as the pastor and the leader of this ministry. Most of our boys, they come from a home of broken promises and disappointment. So to have a ministry like Pastor Scott and the rest of his congregation to always deliver, it shows a lot, and it brings a deeper connection and bond with the boys. Recently, I just lost a young man due to, he got shot. I really appreciate Family Empowerment for all the contributions and all the love, and just for everything it has done throughout the years. I just wanted to just let them know that nothing goes unnoticed.
My name is Leila Garcia Greenawalt. I was walking home from school one day when 2 of my classmates and neighbors were stopping by here at the Family Empowerment Center, and I looked at them and I was like, where are you going? And they said, oh, the center. And me and my sister looked at our mom, looked at each other, we had no idea what it was, decided to come in one day, and that's kind of how we got introduced. This easily became our second home. We spent our after-school days here in their after-school program. We spent our summers here doing soccer camp, and this just became where we spent all of our time. Today, I am a law student after having earned my bachelor's and master's in social work. I think the Family Empowerment Center definitely does its part in the community, and then some. This has become a place for anybody to come in and walk through those doors and be welcomed regardless of their background, their religious beliefs, their socioeconomic status. If you need something, this is the place to come. So this year my boyfriend and I decided that we wanted to prepare ourselves from scratch homemade meals to deliver to families in the community. I decided to ask Scott. I said, hey, this is my plan, I want to cook meals and deliver them. Can you identify a couple families? And this was the first place I thought of. I grew up in this community. I have been serviced more times than I can count by members of this community, whether it was clothes that was needed, food that was needed, diapers because I had younger siblings. My community was always there to help us out, and that was something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to make sure it was this community in particular. I wanted to make sure it was the people that I'm seeing every day on the street, the people that I feel connected to, and people that might be in a situation that I once was in. It was a small scale, but it was something that we could do at our capacity, and we felt really amazing being able to provide that.
As God has called us, He is also faithful to provide the right people, the right gifting. So we have staff members that are musically inclined, people who love the arts, people who are detail-oriented, people who have a passion for breaking apart scripture, but to make it understandable for the common person who hasn't gone to a seminary, but can be engaged with scripture. So we have all these different giftings of what God has poured into our community through our staff team.
My name is Rachel Madella, and I am the director of ESL here and have led the food pantry ministry as well. So in 2015, I moved from Hyderabad, India to Chicago for my master's in intercultural studies at the Moody Bible Institute. We have students from all over. We have students from Kyrgyzstan. We have students from Mongolia, people from Latino countries, Mexico, Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia. We have people from Nepal, from Somalia. Our students come from all over the world. And as I like to say it, the world is at our doorstep.
Mi nombre es Laura Alfaro. ¿Cómo conocí Family Empowerment Center? Fue porque nosotros desde hace por largo tiempo hemos sido cristianos, somos creyentes en Jesús como nuestro Salvador, y pues realmente empezamos a vivir muy cerca de aquí, entonces decidimos pues buscar una iglesia, pero no solo encontramos una iglesia, sino que también encontramos un centro de ayuda comunitaria que ayuda a personas, y también nosotros queríamos eso en nuestra vida, complementarlo con Jesús y aparte ayudar a otros que también pudieron estar como en nuestra misma situación, buscando una iglesia o buscando una ayuda, o también pues que necesitaran otros diferentes apoyo, ayuda, soporte. Entonces por eso es que conocimos este gran lugar. Veo a Dios en cada actividad que se hace aquí, porque siempre su misión, aparte de ayudar, es que muchas personas conozcan que Jesús puede ser también la salvación y puede ser en ese momento también tu ayuda. Entonces, cuando tú ves a unos padres angustiados porque no tienen tiempo para cuidar a sus hijos, pues acá hay un lugar que no solamente los ayuda después del colegio, sino también los ayuda a que conozcan a Jesús, que conozcan a una persona que puede acompañarlos también en su proceso, aparte de sus papás. Aparte de eso, las actividades son guiadas con otros chicos que también pueden haber conocido de Dios y que pueden formar nuevas amistades y sentirse diferentes al colegio, sino sentirse como en familia.
Indudablemente que la experiencia ha sido maravillosa durante el último año aquí en Chicago, y en Empowerment Family Center ha sido maravilloso cada uno de los días aquí vividos. Desde luego que encontrar una congregación que trabaja por las personas, donde encuentra uno amigos, personas donde aprende uno bastante, y también pues me he dado la tarea que aquí he podido también desarrollar aprendizaje sobre el idioma inglés. Para mí ha sido muy beneficioso, y no solamente para mí, sino para muchas personas migrantes que vienen también de otros países, y aquí han encontrado un lugar donde pueden aprender, donde puedan desarrollar conocimientos, pero adicionalmente eso es lo más importante, encontrarse con Dios, encontrarse con Jesús, con una palabra diaria que alimenta el espíritu, que alimenta el alma y que nos hace crecer como personas que pueden servir a Dios en diferentes lugares. Creo que ha sido una de las experiencias más bonitas también estando aquí en Family Empowerment Center.
When COVID was at its peak, we realized families in our community needed help. We know for the fact that we're serving an under-resourced population. And so we started laying out tables in the facility and setting food up, and by appointment we were allowing people to come through and pick up food whenever they wanted. And then eventually we were able to make partnerships in the city where we were able to acquire food to serve our community. And through that, and through our prayers, we were able to acquire a facility across the road from us. And that was God's doing. Like, what are the chances we'd have an open space right across the road from our main facility? That's where we opened up. We stocked our shelves every week. We had about 70 to 90 families come in every Saturday between noon and 2. We've seen people who are displaced. We have a couple of homeless veterans come through, refugees from Venezuela, from Afghanistan. Just a whole wide range of people come through our food pantry. But we don't just serve them with food. We are also able to serve them spiritually in some ways to let them know that there is somebody who's walking with them.
We didn't want to be just one location. We wanted to have multiple centers across the city of Chicago where we would not be a big, massive center where we have one building with 50,000 square foot space with 50 programs operating out of it, but that we would have, in essence, micro locations around the city where they might be a space like we have here in Rogers Park that is about 6,000 square feet, and we run after-school program and ESL classes.
If you see our name, it's called Family Empowerment Centers. And so that was always the vision, that was always the desire that we would be able to promote and disperse the DNA of loving God and loving neighbor throughout the city of Chicago. There are 77 neighborhoods. Over 3 million people make this home Chicago. And so we're asking the Lord, would you have us open another space? And that's where He's opening doors at Albany Park. less than 2 miles away. God has raised a leader to plant that new family empowerment centers there in that neighborhood. So in the coming year, that's our mission, establishing the things that we do here, English as second language, providing like after school programs, providing a food pantry, and those 3 buckets, those 3 building blocks to implement that in Albany Park, and to see what giftings the Lord pours into there so that His kingdom would reign there in Albany Park.
The idea is that we would have centers across the city that were like, we'd have a parish feel, like we'd have the influence of a large organization, but people would feel like it's a parish, it's a community, it's a family.
Come to family empowerment centers and just get a glimpse of how you can serve, how you can give, and wondering, what if you would take ownership for your own block, where you live right now, and you would be a good neighbor, that you would be kind, things that you would glimpse here that you would do, because I believe that we can't do this by ourselves. It's not family empowerment centers going over all 77 neighborhoods. It's going to take all of us.
We need the help of friends and family and neighbors and angel investors, let's say, people around the world who capture a sense of what we're doing and feel like, man, I want to be involved in that. I'm just so grateful that over 20 years of doing what we're doing at Family Empowerment Centers, that I can say that God has been doing a great work. That this is always going to be about God doing what He wants to do. And the collective work of the people that He assembles to do the work together, accomplishing all that's been accomplished and will be accomplished going into the future.